Welcome to Building the Future, hosted by Kevin Horick. With millions of listeners a month, Building the Future has quickly become one of the fastest rising programs, with a focus on interviewing startups, entrepreneurs, investors, CEOs, and more. The radio and TV show airs in 15 markets across the globe, including Silicon Valley. For full showtimes, past episodes, or to sponsor the show, please visit buildingthefutureshow.com.
Do you have an app idea that you've been dreaming about but don't know how to actually start building it? Use Bubble. I've been using Bubble for a number of years now. It's an extremely powerful no-code platform that enables you to build, launch, and scale real products without investing thousands of dollars on engineers, designers, or spending time trying to code it yourself. Use Bubble's visual drag and drop tool to create really anything from marketplaces, SaaS products, and so much more. Join over 2 million people, including myself, already using Bubble to launch and grow businesses. Welcome back to the show. Today we have Yassir Haouati. He's the COO and co-founder of Brickken. Yassir, welcome to the show.
Hi, Kevin. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you on the show. I think what you guys are doing at Brickken is actually really interesting and innovative, and just with everything that's going on right now in the crypto space, I'm really kind of fascinated to get your thoughts. And you talk about the space, and but maybe before we get into all that, let's get to know you a little bit better and start off with where you grew up.
Sure. Okay. So, I'm Yassir, COO and co-founder of Brickken. So, to start, I grew up in Morocco. I studied until what we call their classe préparatoire, which is like preparatory classes for engineering schools. Then I was accepted in a school in France called NSEM, which is an engineering school where I got the digital systems engineering degree. But during my studies, I started my, let's call it, digital entrepreneurship journey. So that's where it all started.
Okay, what made you passionate about engineering at a young age?
Well, my father was a computer science teacher, so that influenced a lot my passion to engineering.
Very cool. Okay, so you were in university and doing your own company or businesses, or walk us through that, being an entrepreneur and being in school.
Sure. Well, in the beginning, I was looking for, as there was limited time, as it was done parallelly with the school. So I was looking for business models that are easily automated and with high profit, but there was always a high risk with that. So I started in e-commerce, doing drop shipping. That was on 2016. Then I was also doing mobile development. So that was like the start of it. Then I opened my marketing agency back then, and then had an experience co-founding a startup in the tourism industry. And from there, I jumped into co-founding Brickken.
Okay, so how did you come up with the idea for Brickken, and what exactly is it?
All right. So Brickken is a token offering and management platform. What does that mean? If, for example, a company wants to raise funds, there is the possibility that is allowed by the blockchain technology to raise funds by tokenizing the equity of the company. So in this type of tokenizations, you issue a security token that represents a share of the company. So that opens the doors for investors around the world to invest in the company wherever it is. But of course, the issuance of security tokens is regulated, but in different ways depending on the geolocation. So we try at Brickken to cover like the whole token life cycle for companies to raise funds through Web3 and also manage the raised funds.
Okay. So before we dive into that deeper, how
So,
is what you just outlined different than getting traditional investment? Obviously, the big thing is you can take capital from anybody on the planet, but what are the other similarities and differences between your offering compared to traditionally raising money from just a regular VC?
sure. Well, I'll start by the example of myself from my experience, as I was
Sure.
based in France for the studies, and after my studies, keeping the companies. So I and wanted to confound Brickken in Spain. So I had the pain of waiting until you get the what it's called here, the NIE, which is the foreigner number, in order to go to the notary to sign paperwork and then become a shareholder. And it takes weeks, if not months, in order to invest or join a company by getting the equity. So we can see here that using the Web3 and the blockchain technology, you can easily do the whole process in few seconds by just, well, it depends, can be a few days, but depending on the KYC and the AML check that is happening behind for the regulations, of course.
Right. Okay. Makes sense. So walk us through, if I'm a company and I want to raise money, how do I use Bricken, and walk me through the process? And then I want to do it as if I'm looking to invest in companies right after that.
Sure. Okay. So as a company, the first step is preparing for the token offering and the token issuance. So
Okay.
there are three, let's say, parts or pillars for the issuance, which are the legal part, the financial part, and the technology part. So we cover the technology part, and in this phase, there will be the marketing part, because when issuing the token and in order to sell it, you need a solid marketing strategy in order to reach out to investors around the world. So the first step would be designing the legal framework of the tokenization in the case of security tokens, then preparing the materials and the strategy for marketing, and
So,
modeling the tokenomics system.
okay, sorry to cut you off. Does
Sure.
Bricken help with any of that stuff, all of that, or none of that? Can you walk us through that?
Yes, I'm coming to it. So
Oh, okay,
we
no problem. Keep
created,
going then.
sure. So we created what we call an experts ecosystem, where we have certified experts or service providers around the world who are helping our clients. So for the company, it lands on an experts, let's call it marketplace, to choose the service provider that suits or fits its situation. So it goes faster, and also helps covering the problem of the different regulations depending on the geolocation.
Got it. Okay,
So
very
that
cool.
that's the first step, which is the preparation. It takes a few weeks depending on the legality in the country of the tokenization. Then it becomes faster, because then we move to the DApp the Brickken app. So you start by issuing the token by filling in the information prepared in the preparation phase, and then, but in one click, you deploy through our smart contract factory, which is the the script that is deploying the token on the public blockchain. So we are starting on the Ethereum blockchain network, but we are expanding by building expanding to other networks by building a token bridging system. So
Got it. Keep going.
yeah, so once the token is issued, there is the last part, which is launching the token offering. So we provide by filling in just one form, you can set up the branding of what we call a token store, which is a mini dApp that you can configure and change its branding to make it yours and sell the token that you issued. And this way you are raising funds by selling the equity to investors around the world.
Interesting. Okay. So keep us down this path. So, okay, you guys help me along. And then what happens? Like, what do I send investors once they're willing to invest?
So from the investor side, uh, uh, it lands directly on the project that it found, which is the token store. So it's a website with the explanation of the project, but we also have what we call Brickken Launchpad, where all the tokens or token offerings that are deployed through our protocol are listed for investors to find and explore new investment opportunities around the world.
Got it. Okay. So what is KYC ALM management? For people that don't know, maybe do you want to explain those acronyms and then talk about that?
Sure. Sure. So the KYC stands for Know Your Customer. So it's a regulation that is obliged to us in order, and also to our clients with their investors to like verify the identity of the investors. So as you are selling equity, which is a security, a real world security, you need to know who is the shareholder, for example, of your company. You need to have all the information about it. It's like when you go to the notary and they ask you for your identity card, for example, or your passport. So the KYC is, let's say, automating the verification of the identity of the holders. Uh,
Uh,
uh, and the AML stands for anti-money laundering. So it's a check that is done on the persons after they do the KYC in order to see if they are involved in any money laundering activities.
got you. Okay. Interesting. So if I'm then looking to, well, I guess no, sorry, before I ask that,
Mm.
is there a minimum or a maximum I can invest in a company, or walk us through that?
Well, it depends on the company that is asking for the fundraising. They are the
Okay.
ones setting up all the parameters of their token offerings, so they can like set the minimum investment they want in their company. Like it's like in traditional processes, or let's say the ones we have now, which is like. Uh, I don't know how to say it, but I hope you see what I mean.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, that I guess it's not really any different than just doing it in the traditional route, right?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay, perfect. So I'm curious, to dive a little bit deeper into I've raised money, I'm using the platform. How do I use it with my startup and my investors kind of on a monthly, quarterly, yearly basis? Like, walk us through using the platform on an ongoing basis, or do I even need to?
Mhm. Yes, so the first part is to issue the token and raise the funds. So after that, you will have to manage your shareholders. In this case, if you issued a equity token, so you need to have all the information in one place. So as it's deployed in the blockchain network, so our DApp is getting or visualizing the data, the on-chain data directly on the platform. So you can keep track of your token holders. Then you can manage the token treasury, because when you issue a token with a certain supply, you're gonna define, depending on the allocation, how you're gonna distribute the whole supply. So you need to keep track of each vertical in your token allocation. You need to keep track of like the circulating supply, for example. If you have, for example, a part or a bag for the airdrops, you need to keep track of it, etc. So we allow to manage the whole process for token treasury, and also automating what we call corporate actions. Like, for example, you can automate sending the dividends to the investors who invested in your company. And then there is also the management, lastly, the management of the raised funds. So when you sell the token, you are receiving funds either in crypto or fiat. So you need to manage it too. So we offer the tools to do that using the DeFi technology.
Got it. Okay, very cool. So I want to talk about the state of, well, I wouldn't say so much blockchain because I think it's, kind of a well-established thing and people are using it and not using it depending on their needs. But
Mhm,
we all know kind of the crypto doom and gloom that's happening in the industry. And I'll preface this with I own some crypto personally. I don't
mhm.
think, like, sure, it's obviously going through a rough patch right now, or some companies in the space are going through a rough patch. But what's your take on the state of the industry and kind of what's happened recently?
Well, in my opinion, there are many factors that are generating the current situation of the market. But I would say lately there are many events happening, which is, in my opinion, good for the industry, as let's say it's cleaning the industry from uh, uh, the uh, the misused technologies, like, for example, uh, we can mention meme coins, for example, or tokens with no utility in general. So it's kind of cleaning the industry to leave only, let's say, builders or real builders in the industry, for the industry to grow in good terms. So, for example, we can also mention the events that happened with FTX, which is affecting the whole centralized exchanges market, which is also kind of pushing the investors in that market, or generally the crypto investors, to think of moving from the centralized exchanges to more of the decentralization. So it helps, let's say, the mass adoption of DeFi, or decentralized wallets, or decentralization in general, which is also good for the industry.
No, I agree with you. I think this kind of cleansing, as you put, like, has happened in
pretty much every other industry that's been on the internet, and probably even brick and mortar kind of industries. So this happens all the time, and crypto's kind of one of the newer ones that, had a lot of buzz a year or two ago. And yes, I'm not going to deny, like, a lot of people lost a ton of money, and I'm not trying to downplay that, but I think just this happens all the time, right? And it's just getting a lot of coverage, because there's been some kind of big players that, you know, sadly kind of just were, well, it's, who knows what actually happened, but it seems like coming out like that, they were not doing proper things, some of these companies that went down recently, right?
It's always decisions that are made there, and you cannot, let's say, judge decisions in entrepreneurship in general, as sometimes you, for example, have to make many decisions at a time. So you need to decrease the risk by avoiding the decision fatigue. So you need to make a decision fast for each situation in order to survive that period. And that can be the problem that kills many companies, even the big ones. So we cannot explain what was the reasoning behind the decisions that were made there, but yeah, that's what we can say. Like, we cannot judge a decision without knowing all the information. And
No,
that's
that
still
that
just my personal opinion.
no, I 100% agree with you. I think that makes a lot of sense. So I'm curious to dive a little bit deeper into. I think a lot of people maybe don't know exactly what kind of blockchain, Web3, and even maybe what crypto is. Do you maybe want to just explain those, just so people understand and maybe have some context to what we're talking about?
Sure. The blockchain technology is to simplify, let's say, a distributed database where the data is not stored in only one place, so you avoid the one point of failure. So you have the data distributed on different centers, and each one of them is validating if everything is the same in all the centers. So you cannot change uh, things already done on the blockchain, because then you have to change in all the points that are in that network. So that's like just a quick and simple explanation that I would personally give to blockchain, but that also shows that uh, it's based on the decentralization in or let's say globally. So for me, that's what made me admire, let's say, the blockchain technology, as I see that it's a technology that is changing how humanity thinks, which was generally centralizing everything instead of decentralizing it.
Interesting. Okay. And then what's your take on Web3? And
Uh,
what does it
well,
mean?
uh, well, uh, uh, Web 2, let's start with Web 1 is when, let's say, in the beginning of the internet, was like static websites or web pages where you cannot interact as a user. So that was called Web 1. Web 2 is when the, let's say, backend part entered, or the databases entered and the interactions entered. So in Web 2, you can say the applications where you can, for example, create an account, log in to your account, do things inside the application. So that's called Web 2. Web 3 is Web 2 plus the ownership of things. So now in Web3 you can uh, like interact with the applications, but also own things with the proof that is deployed in the network. Or when I say deployed on the network, to simplify it, I would say that is distributed over all the centers or data centers in the network. So it's like you certify that you own something.
Got it. Okay, interesting. So I'm curious. I want to dive a little bit back into covered the expert ecosystem. I want to dive a little bit deeper into what types of you quickly covered it, but I think it's super
Sure.
important and it's actually super helpful for people raising money or just doing a startup in general. So do you want to talk a little bit deeper into the type of experts and what people can actually get from your ecosystem?
Sure. So in the ecosystem, there are different verticals. There is the legal vertical where we have service providers or let's say law firms who are providing the services of designing the legal framework of the tokenization. So the clients do not have to know or to do anything, but they hire a law firm that has experience and that will take care of the, for example, designing the legal framework for the tokenization. Then we have, for example, marketing, where you find service providers in the marketing field or in Web3 marketing field, which is needed here. So it's more about community building, about media buying. So you find agencies that help the companies on Web3 marketing strategies and Web3, let's say, marketing channels that they're gonna use. So instead of, in this case, losing money in paid media, for example, the traditional one, and they don't reach the persona that is needed there, then it's better to hire a marketing service provider who gonna take care of it and help you succeed your fundraising round. For example, there's also the financial expert who gonna help you design the token economy model of your token. So, for example, what is the utility of the token, the total supply of the token, what's gonna be the soft cap, which is the minimum that is wanted to be, for example, raised in the case of a token offering, or the hard cap, etc. So you also find, instead of knowing all these things, you can find experts in these fields who can do it for you and help you move faster and in a more efficient way.
Got it. So how do you monetize Brickken?
We have an issuance fee, which is all done through our utility token BKN. So the clients who use our protocol need to pay with BKN an issuance fee, and then there is only a success fee. That's how we call it, which means we only get paid when you succeed your token offering, which is a commission that we take from the funds raised, and a monthly subscription for the management of the token. So that's our business model.
Got it. Okay. And what is that? Like, what's the percentage and what's my monthly fee, or does it really depend on how much I raise?
Well, that's depending on the cases.
Okay.
As you know, but if someone is interested, you can contact our sales team through our website, and they're gonna guide you through all the information depending on your situation.
Got it. Okay. And is there a minimum or kind of maximum amount of money I can raise on the platform?
Well, it's all depending on the legality. From a technical perspective, there is no minimum and no
Right.
maximum, but from a legal perspective, it's depending on where your company is based and its regulations.
Yeah. Okay. That makes some sense. So I'm curious, do you have any other thoughts or predictions on where the space is kind of headed, whether from a blockchain crypto perspective or just kind of a Web 3.0 perspective? Because you guys are very kind of on the cutting edge of this stuff, and I'm curious to get your thoughts or any predictions you have.
Well, in my opinion, obviously, in the long term, obviously, you're gonna see a huge growth and fast growth of the industry, as we've seen in the past years. In the middle term, I would say it's the same, but in the short term, I would say in the industry we are, or the stakeholders of the ecosystem are still cleaning and being qualified. So it's the stakeholders are now getting, let's say, educated in order to understand the technology in a better way and use it the right way. So I would say in the short term, uh, we cannot say 100%, but it's a higher probability, in my opinion, that it's still gonna be cleaning.
Right. So I'm curious, what advice do you give to people that are looking to raise money, with Brickken? And you kind of covered it earlier, but I think people don't realize how hard it can be and how much time and effort you need to put into marketing and kind of research. Do you want to talk about some advice you would give people to using the platform and just even raising money in general?
Well, yes, as well, my opinion is it's always better to do it uh, like as early as possible before things in the industry with regulation can be more complicated. So, as you know, it's always better to do it like fast. So that's how we want to execute too. So we are focusing a lot on the user experience, and I would say my advice would be just follow the steps and keep things compliant in order to uh, be more transparent, which is the first value of blockchain technology, for example.
Oh, I think that's really good advice. So I'm curious, because sometimes startups can take, 3, 5, 10, maybe plus years to maybe IPO or get sold. How do I use Bricken if I want to IPO or get sold? Like, is the process the same, different? Do you want to walk us through that?
Well, in Bricken, the goal is to issue the token that represents the shares. So if you want to sell your token, you can sell it in a peer-to-peer, for example. So
Okay.
that can be done in like the traditional way. Only the transaction gonna be through the blockchain networks. But yeah, I think it's quite the same as also there can be the security token exchanges or liquidity pools where you can still sell your tokens there. So it
Got
depends
it.
on how the tokenization is done.
Okay. No, that makes sense. So we're kind of coming to the end of the show, but is there anything else or advice that you would want to mention to close out the show?
Well, always do your own research. That would be the best advice in the industry. So there is nothing best or better than looking for things or even words that we don't understand, just Googling it and learning every day at least one thing. I think that would be the best advice to give in the industry from my perspective.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. So how about we close the show with mentioning where people can get more information about Brickken, the community, and any other links you want to mention?
Sure. By Googling Brickken or just going to our website, bricken.com. We have everything explained there, all the links needed. So yeah, just visit our website and learn more.
Perfect, man. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be on the show, and I look forward to keeping in touch with you and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Nice to
Thank
meet
you.
you.
Yeah, you as well, man. Have a good rest of your day. Thanks. Bye.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening. Please visit our website at buildingthefutureshow.com to join the free community, sign up for our newsletter, or to sponsor the show. The music is done by Electric Mantra. You can check him out at electricmantra.com and keep building the future.